What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today I'm going to show you my League Challenge deck from this past weekend. It is a Water Toolbox deck, and it's pretty standard. I've made a few little tweaks here and there, but let's get right into it. We're running 3 Seismitoad EX, and like in Water Toolbox, the idea here is not so much to Quaking Punch, but actually just to pick up a lot of quick, aggressive momentum with Grenade Hammer by powering Toad up. You can get him powered up as soon as your first turn, believe it or not. And it does put on a tremendous amount of pressure, and with Fighting Fury Belt, this guy's 220 HP. Can be really something for opponents to have to try to deal with. It's pretty bulky. We run 2 Manaphy EX because Aqua Tube is unspeakably useful, especially for manipulating things like Max Elixir and whatnot, and bringing in the right Pokemon for the knockout like Articuno and whatnot. Speaking of which, we do run 2 copies of Articuno. This is the Delta Plus Articuno. This can put a lot of pressure on decks that have small Pokemon like Night March, help you win the prize race there. And of course, against any opponent, anytime it picks up a knockout, that extra prize is quite useful, as well as cards I'm really fond of. We also run Regice for those EX heavy decks. Just one, but that Resistance Blizzard is pretty amazing and a very reliable way to control opponents and keep them from really doing anything back to us. We also run 1 copy of Glaceon EX. The Crystal Ray can be very useful. It's especially nice against things like Vespiquen that otherwise we can have a difficult time kind of answering them. Now, the deck doesn't normally run it, but I did tech 1 Jirachi because the Vespiquen matchup is a little scary, and also this helps in the Night March matchup. Just Stardust can break up their tempo, and it gets rid of their most precious resource, those DCEs, of course. So I did decide to run one of those, and we can easily fetch it with Ultra Ball and whatnot. We're running 2 Shaman EX because we're going to search it so very much. The third one, I kind of felt like it wasn't really worth running, and a lot of people still don't have playsets of Shaman EX. It is a very expensive card, and I think 2 is pretty much enough. It's really all you need. And we do run 1 Hoopa EX as well. This can go search up, like, let's say, usually I ended up getting, like, say, a Manaphy, a Shaman, and then, like, a Seismitoad. But you can also fetch that Glaceon if you've already got Seismitoad covered. Pretty useful guy there, and it's nice that you can free retreat him with 1 Water Energy thanks to Manaphy as well. Getting around the fact that he can sometimes be a pretty bad Lysander target when our opponents hit it. We're running 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, definitely to ramp up those early starts. We definitely want to make sure that happens. We got 2N. The original build runs a little bit different, but I like 2Ns. It's a very good card draw. And the disruption against opponents if you're losing the game is pretty powerful, so I opted for 2. We're also running double Lysanders. This just increases our ability to manipulate knockouts from our opponent, keep them from being able to hide on the bench, and picking off Shamans, of course, as Seismitoad can easily one-shot a Shaman. And we are running 1 AZ as well. This can get up really damaged things, pick them back into our hand. It can allow you to like stall for a turn with Hoopa, things like that there. And you can reuse Shaman with it, so it's pretty useful. Pretty good. Pretty standard here. We're running 4 Ultra Balls for all the obvious reasons. We want to make sure we get that set up. It's a great way to get Hoopa early game. We're running 4 copies of Versus Seeker as well, also pretty standard fare by now. And we're running 4 copies of Max Elixir. This is one of the most crucial cards of the deck, and part of what defines it is our ability to ramp those energies up pretty quickly and get those big attacks early on. Like I say, this deck's all about applying early pressure and the right kind of pressure by getting that right mon out, be it Articuno or Seismitoad or whoever. So we're running a full complement of 4 of those, and to kind of help us with that, we're also running 3 energy switches. These are also good for getting those free retreats and then adding that energy that we use to get the free retreat onto the new attacker. Pretty useful. It can let us go kind of from a Pokemon that has like 0 energy like we just played it this turn to having like 3 like Seismitoad. Enough to Grenade Hammer with our energy played from our hand and whatnot, and Max Elixirs. It's easy to see where we can quickly get something out of nothing. That's kind of how this deck operates. We're also running 3 copies of Trainer's Mail. Just once again, it's a little bit more about consistency and making sure we don't stall out, because not getting things like those elixirs can definitely slow us down. We're running 4 copies of Fighting Fury Belt. This can make us much harder to take down whilst we're simultaneously putting on a lot of offense ourselves. The 10 extra damage isn't necessarily as crucial in this deck, so it's pretty much about that extra 40 HP, as everything in the deck is basic. And finally, we're running 4 copies of Rough Seas. This is a very crucial card for our deck. Number 1, it's good for countering other stadiums, but even more than that, this is about making sure your Grenade Hammer doesn't become a problem for you in the long run. So the ability to sweep through and heal all that Grenade Hammer damage off your Mons is pretty darn crucial, and that's why we are running 4. And last but not least, we are also running a grand total of 12 water energies. It might seem like a lot, I guess, in some ways, but because we're running those max elixirs, obviously, we want to make sure we can hit them whenever possible. And that's the deck, I gotta say, from the event itself. It was a very popular deck at the event. As we're getting close to nationals here, this is sort of a lot of people's last chance to pick up some points. There was a lot of Water Toolbox there. That was a very common deck. There's a little bit of Night March and a little bit of other things, but definitely a deck if you're getting ready to go to nationals. It's a deck you need to consider. It's a deck you need to be ready for. You might want to play it yourself, but at least have some answers for it because it can be difficult for some decks to overcome. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, and until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. Link is below as always, and I will see you next time.